What happened in practice for the
Spanish Grand Prix?
If you've been living under a rock, you may not have heard that we've had a slight, who knows how big, rule change coming into the Spanish Grand Prix. A technical directive, Tommy. We're going to get into all of that. Explain it for you all in case you don't know the absolute ins and outs. But we're not a technical podcast, but we'll cover it, won't we?
We sure will. Yeah, it's been a bit technical directive bingo, hasn't it, on Friday, with just constantly being mentioned, and we've all wound up to this point. And yeah, we're going to get into what we know so far and has it made a difference? Because still got some people saying, yes, it absolutely will, and some people saying no. So we'll get into it.
We will, but before we do that, we have the biggest announcement of the year, and that is the P1 Live Show Delusion Tour tickets are now on general sale. So I know that some of you think, oh, maybe I should buy it. I'll get it here. I'll get it there. I'll wait till then. I am not kidding when I tell you that Amsterdam sold out literally the same day that we went live, which is pretty mental.
In just over an hour.
To say the least. So thank you to each and every one of you that is coming to the Amsterdam show. It's amazing to see the hype for having us two plebs in town. But to run you through the rest of the dates, just to give you an idea and an understanding if you missed the last time we spoke about it. Seattle is November the 4th, San Francisco, November the 5th, Denver, November the 10th, Dallas, November the 11th, Toronto, November the 13th, Chicago, November the 14th, New York, November the 16th, Dublin, December the 10th, Manchester, December the 14th, Glasgow, December the 15th, and London is December the 17th, which we want to clarify. There was a small mistake on our previous graphic that said 16th. It is not. It is. Let's get my words out. The 17th of December, Tommy. How excited are you for all of that?
I am. And that little did will make sure everyone remembers that it is the 17th now.
Yeah, I felt like I was the DJ button on the keyboard.
I liked it.
DJ. Right, anyway, let's get into it. And the big story going into this race, as we mentioned, was the new front wing technical directive. Now, to give you a bit of a heads up on it all, just to make sure we're all up to speed, there have been tougher load tests on the front wings have been imposed by the FIA from the Spanish Grand Prix onwards. So that includes front wing bodywork flexibility and front wing flap flexibility as well. The front wing bodywork flexibility has been reduced from 15 millimeters to 10 millimeters. And then the front wing flap flexibility, I'll try and say that 10 times fast, has also been reduced from 5 millimeters to 3 millimeters. And for me, right, Tommy, I don't go, oh my God, I love the way the cars are built. I'm not that kind of, that way inclined. Neither are you. But it doesn't, we're all kind of wondering how big is this change going to be. It doesn't sound like a lot, does it? 5 millimeters less flex.
True, but then someone made an interesting point. That is true, that reducing 15 millimeters to 10 millimeters is a third of it. And this is the thing with this whole technical directive, isn't it, that we've been hearing, and everything being mentioned is you've got some people saying it's not going to really do anything, and then some people going, it's absolutely massive. And I think Nico Rosberg on the coverage was kind of talking about, as a driver, it's all about confidence in the car and the kind of balance, and when you're changing something like that, it will be difficult for the drivers to adapt and get used to it.
You certainly do. Whether it will cause lacks of confidence is yet to be seen. And before we dive into FP1, FP2, as we usually do, I guess just to highlight, why are they changing it? What is the reason for the change? Well, there were concerns raised throughout last season that teams have been gaining performance back by changing the aerodynamic balance of the car from low speed to high speed situations through the flexi wing. So if you kind of picture it as if the wing at the front and rear, obviously the rear was sort of mentioned and tweaked earlier on in the season, but if they're flexing under high speeds, it means they can almost trim down the wing in some ways and go faster down the straights. But then when they're on the brakes, it goes back to the position, and then you have the downforce that you would expect perhaps with a more aggressive wing and a higher downforce wing. So they don't like that.
It's funny because it's clever if you're doing it and it's within the rules, which it was, because people have been passing it. Now it's not, and they've had to change it. So for me, it is a reaction to basically hope that it maybe closes the pecking order a bit. And we've seen this throughout Formula One, where they change little bits here and there. usually when they believe a certain team that is the quickest has that advantage. It's happened, way back when, but even as early as when I was watching with like Michael Schumacher and the Michelin runners in like the 2000s. They kind of change things mid-season and happens all the time.
Showing your age, Tommy.
Exactly.
Showing your age, bro. Come on. Like, you could have said like Mercedes and Das. No, you went all the way back to Michael Schumacher. I appreciate it, though.
As a reference to show how long it's been going on.
As a veteran watcher of the sport, Tommy just flexing on his knowledge, and we love to see
flexing,
it.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, that's actually... I didn't even notice. That's just...
I didn't flex too much, though. I reduced it by 5 millimeters.
Oh, don't flex too much, Tommy. We know how small you are these days. Right, let's get into free practice 1, where Lando Norris was fastest from Max Verstappen by 3.5 tenths, with Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc closely in behind. And McLaren was still fastest in FP1 and
so
indeed
it's working really
FP2. And the question is, even faster. Have they got even faster after this practice session? I saw, I think it was Alex Brundle put a tweet out saying that he spoke to, who was
Rob
it from
Marshall.
McLaren? He spoke to Rob Marshall.
Yeah.
And basically asked, how much is this going to cost you and whatnot. He's like, what do you mean cost us? Obviously, look, as much as we are going to, and as Formula 1 fans, we love to press the panic button. We love to press the it's over. We're so done. I love pressing the it's over button most weeks. But let's not forget that McLaren and Lando has said already in the past this season that they turn up the wick slightly more, or they just go for it a bit harder than we usually see, because we have seen big gaps in practice this year, and then we get to qualifying, it's ridiculously close once more. It's definitely a wait and see at the moment, but it's not the 10th and 12th that some people had been predicting. We even heard, I think, was it Toto Wolff saying coming into this weekend that Ferrari had been the least reliant on flexi wings, and I'm like, stop it. Don't give me hope. And it turns out I needed no hope.
I think you can argue that the kind of practice sessions so far, maybe it will affect things more when we get into qualifying and full race runs. But from a practice session and looking at the order of both sessions, it's not too dissimilar to what we've normally seen. And before we maybe get a bit too scared, trying to bring back the positives of how quick McLaren are, we have tended to see this on Friday with McLaren, that they do come out the blocks firing, and then everyone kind of catches up when we get into qualifying. So if they don't in qualifying again, then we know that it maybe has made them even faster.
Also worth mentioning from free practice 1, Ryo Hirakawa, with his 3rd appearance already in 2025. He's had one for Alpine, one for Haas, and now in Bahrain, and now in Spain. Yeah, I guess the question, and it comes in from P1 Patreon member BL4X, is quite an interesting one. What is Ryo Hirakawa's plan? That's his 3rd FP1 in just 9 races. It's, well, of course you have the quota that all teams have to field some rookies, and perhaps some teams don't necessarily have... I mean, I kind of looking maybe at the likes of Alpine, obviously, in Japan, where they don't have an absolute dead set hot protege that they want to stick in the car. And for me, seeing Hirakawa going between teams and things like that, has it just become this rookie outing as, okay, well, the opportunity will go, well, tick it off the list, but also to the highest bidder in some ways, where you go, well, how much money can you... Because they have to field a huge amount of money to be put in for an FP1 seat. It's not like they just get a free drive. So I do find that quite interesting, whether it's really doing that sort of young talent nurturing that it was first set out to be when this rule was put in place.
Yeah, it's true. That no disrespect to Rio, is a capable driver and has pedigree in other series and things, but at the end of the day, he is 31. He's I'd be very surprised if he makes it into Formula 1 as a full-time driver, and it maybe just shows that Haas have their driver lineup locked in, because of course he replaced Ollie Behrman last time. This time he replaces Esteban Ocon, and as you've said, really, it's not really what that rule has been brought in. It's kind of giving young drivers a chance to show what they can do and maybe show that there's some future talent. And that's why this has been brought in. So we don't want it to kind of get to the point where maybe there's a part of it as well that now Hirakawa has done many FP1 outings and I know he went off in the gravel, but he's not had big crashes or stuck it in the wall. He's a safe pair of hands that people can use to tick off that quota, and I don't really like that. That's not what the rules have kind of been brought in for. So yeah, you kind of want to see Formula One teams put in people that they genuinely think might be the next big thing, or one of their junior drivers that may get a seat, which is what Williams did, of course, with Victor Martins.
Exactly. Oh yeah, I was going to mention Victor Martins. He's been in Formula 2 for quite some time, hasn't he now, from what I can recall. So it's good to see him get a shot in free practice 1 for the first time and ended up 19th. So yeah, good to see. Let's head to free practice 2. Where, as we mentioned, Oscar Piastri was fastest, McLaren were fastest, by almost 0.3 of a second, ahead of George Russell and Max Verstappen. And we've got a question from P1 Page. Remember, Alonso makes me sad. Has the new technical directive actually changed the grid? Well, okay, let's have a look at this. What I'm seeing right now on the free practice 2 classification, which, I know a lot of people are going, guys, it's only practice. You can't get anything from practice. You can, in some ways, get a bit of an idea of the pecking order, at least, of the top half and the bottom half. And no.
It's true. You look at it.
Williams are now in the mud, is what I'm reading from this.
Maybe.
14th and 15th in free practice 2. But realistically, we've not seen a Bortoleto fastest. We saw Hulk pretty fast at one point during free practice 2 as the hot laps were coming in. But I'm going to be fascinated from tomorrow. Let's revisit this question tomorrow. But right now, no, it doesn't look like there's anything too crazy going on.
Certainly not, because this year the trend has been that McLaren are fastest, and then it kind of switches between Russell and Verstappen, who's kind of next up the road. And then you've got the kind of midfields, VCARB, as they're known now, Racing Bulls, are kind of top end of the midfield. Ferrari aren't quite there, which we'll get into later. And yeah, it looks very, very similar to what we've seen before. But the big test will be qualifying, when they are going flat out of course. And we've seen a big trend of kind of what very similar qualifying sessions, of course, have been very close between the teams. So if there's bigger gaps, then maybe it's time to panic.
Let's get into that next question from P1 Patron member Hades Ash. What happens if the new technical directive makes McLaren even further ahead than the rest? Well, look, so we've reduced the flex from 15 to 10 millimeters. If that makes McLaren faster, let's revert it. Let's make them even flexier. Let's go sort of 20, 30 millimeters. Let's make them proper bendy. You know what I'm saying? Like you could just go boing sort of thing. I don't know why I made the noise.
I like it,
but yeah, yeah, I think that for sure it could be. If we're actually
do you start changing the regulations of maybe like if you paint your car orange, you have to have a little bit of ballast on your car.
Watch the chrome come out then from McLaren. That'll be, to be fair, good livery to run. But if we're going to answer this seriously, what happens?
Nothing.
Look, the FIA.
Nothing happens.
Look, this is what happens. We've seen it many, many times where the FIA finds some kind of loophole, or at least, there's so many teams complaining about the fastest team having gone against the spirit of the rules and the regulations, and you should change this. And because they do have that power, the FIA, to be able to make adjustments to the regulations if a team has found a loophole. But if McLaren are just as quick or further ahead after tying up this loose end, they can't do anything. They won't. They shouldn't be able to do anything, because this is a sport about creating the fastest car. And if McLaren, by the looks of things, still have the fastest car, then fair play to them.
If you remember Mercedes in 2020, and there was all the talk of party mode that they had in qualifying, and there was talk throughout the whole season of Mercedes running this party mode. They can turn the wick up when it gets to Q3, and they're miles quicker than everyone else. And they banned it or kind of clamped down on it for the Italian Grand Prix in 2020. And what happened was Hamilton and Bottas were 1-2 by almost an entire second, and Hamilton set the quickest lap in the history of Formula One. So we've seen...
Didn't they clamp down by making sure that everybody uses the same engine mode or something?
Yeah.
So they and then the teams were like, wait, hold on, that's illegal.
Yeah, and then they're like, wait a minute, Mercedes have got the best engine, so they're even quicker. And yeah, this is a trend in Formula One that we've seen many, many times. And we've been kind of praying for a championship fight for ages and so long this close. So I don't think we need to worry too much, even if this doesn't work, of like press the alarm bells, the season's finished, because I think it's still a great season.
God, Tommy, you and your segueing today, phenomenal. Didier Vlouwen, I'm really sorry for the pronunciation of that. Does Verstappen still have a chance to win the World Drivers' Championship this season? Absolutely. Yes, I believe so. If he finishes 45 seconds behind the McLarens come Sunday's race, then perhaps we can revisit that question. But right now, I think so. And I love how you said, be careful what you wish for. This is coming from a Max Verstappen fan, right? Because he is warning all of you that if you nerf McLaren too hard, Max will start winning everything, and then fans will be complaining about that as well.
Exactly.
So don't nerf him too much, because Max is still capitalising on the small mistakes that McLaren are making.
He's still there. It was quite amusing watching the Sky coverage when we first kind of tuned into FP1, and they had a graphic come up that basically said like championship battle, and it was Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris, and they were the only two on there, separated by 3 points. And you think how many years they've tried to play a championship battle where someone is 45 points behind Max Verstappen and put them in a graphic and gone, there's still a chance, it might happen. That being said, and you can repeat what we said at Imola, he has to win this one because McLaren are going to go to every track and be great. Verstappen has to win and so far he kind of almost has won them all, but like the Suzukas, the Imolas, and Spain is another one. Has to win to keep in the shot.
We sound like a bit of, we're being repetitive with this, but this is a season where it is a case of must win, or at the very least split the McLarens, because there are going to be these chances few and far between.
And even McLaren on a bad day finished third. We've given Lando like 6 out of 10s in drive ratings for a P3 or a P4 when he's had a really scruffy race. And it just shows that they can pick up podiums pretty much all the time.
P1 Pitch, remember, tardy tomato. Has Red Bull accepted that Max is the only person that can drive the car, or will there be increasing pressure on Yuki as the season goes on? No, don't see it. Don't see any further pressure for Yuki, particularly, unless we're going to see something crazy where he consistently crashes. Although on the flip side of that, there is a small part of me that goes, Hadjar keeps performing this well. Red Bull might have the conversation with him where they go, do you fancy a little go? Just a little one. Can you deal with this car?
Yeah. Do you like driving on ice? Do you like the feel of driving on ice?
Yeah.
Then you might.
Are you good at driving on ice? That's the question. Red Bull don't really have much to lose. I'm not saying that Yuki should be replaced, no chance. But I mean, later down in the season, if Yuki is literally just getting 9th and 10ths, is there really anything to lose by swapping them over for a few races? Not really. And we're kind of seeing this musical chairs kind of vibe in Formula One come back over the last few years anyways. So it's more like future-proofing of like, okay, well, who can? Yeah, but then if Max goes, they change the whole philosophy, and then perhaps they will have 2 drivers that can perform. But for now, I don't think it's necessarily pressure as such, but you can never say never when it comes to the driver market.
Particularly with Red Bull, exactly. It was interesting hearing Nico Rosberg when they do that thing at the side of the track, and he was watching Max saying, "Oh my word, he's just sliding around every corner," and you can, him as a Formula One driver could see that the way Max drives the car, and I think he even said, "I totally understand why Yuki is having an absolute headache with that, because it's how Max likes to drive, with he's just kind of dancing the car around the corners and fighting it, whereas for the other driver, that's not easy and not what they like."
Final question, and we're leaving it on a nice positive one from FPL_NP. Should Ferrari just retire for the rest of 2025. So you're telling me, right, that Charles Leclerc nearly won Monaco, and we are now only Friday in, and we're getting questions like this. Is this bait? I think so. I've not seen. But
they've also struggled, haven't they?
Potential. Yeah, I haven't seen huge potential. Charles Leclerc only half a second of Oscar Piastri's fastest, less than 2/10 behind Lando. Let's not give up just yet. Okay, Hamilton's down in 11th in free practice too, but so be it. This is Friday.
Hamilton looked very uncomfortable and mentioned about his car. He also had on boards with Charles, where it really looked like he was fighting it, and of course, the technical directive, there's a lot of rumours that Ferrari might be the ones, I think you said this at the start of the show, that relied on it, least effective, relied on it the least. But they just don't seem to be all that comfortable. They're not terrible, but they're not, they've not shot up the pecking order like we saw at Monaco. I think that Monaco has suited that car. This is a very, very, very different circuit. So maybe they are just now working towards Monza and getting that attempt there. And then they focus on 2026. Who knows?
So there you go. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to this Friday wrap-up. Remember, P1 Live Show, Delusion Tour tickets are available. Amsterdam already sold out. Get your tickets if you are in any of the other places so you don't miss out. And we will see you tomorrow for the Quali Watch Along on Twitch and YouTube and all of the normal stuff that you love to see. Tommy, final thoughts, please?
Yeah, it's got to be about the P1 Live Show, of course. Thanks for all the love on the announcement and people really excited for us to go see new places and visit them as well. And I know particularly Amsterdam selling out that quickly is absolutely crazy. I can't believe how well that's done. I'm really looking forward to that show as well. So get your tickets while you still can, because apparently they're quite popular. Who would have thought?
For whatever reason,
talking about Formula One would be popular, but here we are.
Who knows? Thank you, everybody. We'll see you soon. Lots of love. Bye.
Bye.